Bitcoin is sitting on a ticking time bomb. One move above 110k could trigger billions of short liquidations and send the price flying, which we're going to see very soon. What you see here on this chart is basically telling us that short-term holders are rushing for the exits. Mainly, this correction that we're seeing right now is from traders and market makers manipulation, flushing out the high leverage positions. And over the past week, these short-term holders that have been selling have realized losses over $2.2 billion. That's billions of dollars lost in high leverage trading. Based on that, this next chart is linked. It shows us where we are sitting right now, which is your red dotted line in the middle. We're currently around the 109k level. So this liquidation heat map for Bitcoin that you see on the screen, it tracks where large amounts of leverage long and short positions, which are basically future traders using borrowed money. They can get liquidated if the price moves to those levels indicated here. So currently, as we said, 109k is where we stand. The green curve is cumulative short liquidation leverage. So if Bitcoin's price move up, short traders, those that are betting against Bitcoin, will get liquidated. And you can see how this green line rises steeply as price goes above 110k, showing that billions in short liquidations are sitting above that zone. The red curve that you see is your cumulative long liquidation leverage. So if Bitcoin's price moves down, long traders betting, those that are betting Bitcoin will rise, will get liquidated as well. But if you compare both, this red curve now is much smaller, which is telling us that fewer long liquidations compared to the shorts. And as we know, markets like to liquidate where the majority of people are sitting and where the money is. So in that case, they will try and liquidate all those short positions, which in my opinion might even push Bitcoin to new all-time high. And if we check the post that I made on YouTube the other day asking if we're going to see Bitcoin touching the 103k level, well, the majority of you think that we're actually going to go to the 103k level this week. Well, what I can see from this chart is that we have upside pressure building up. There are massive short liquidations above the current price, and if Bitcoin climbs higher, it could trigger a short squeeze. Short positions get forced to buy back, pushing the price up fast, which in my opinion is something that we're going to see in the short term because there are a lot of short positions that are ready to be squeezed. And of course, exchanges and big fish are not going to miss this opportunity. The downside risk, if we look at it, there is still some long liquidations levels below, but these are very small compared to what we saw last week, and they're not nearly as stacked as the short side. This means that the downside pressure looks weaker than the upside, so probably big whales are not going to be that interested in the downside. We might see further move to the downside, but just to liquidate a couple of more positions and even scare those that are still in the markets, shake out the weak hands before we see new all-time high. And this is actually something normal, how the markets move. Never expect price to go just linear or parabolic. There will be movements up, movements down, and it's for you to try and ignore those noises and understand what's happening in the space. If you understand the bigger picture, if you understand how markets move, you won't be afraid, you won't be scared, you won't be selling in pressure, you won't be buying in fear of missing out. But it takes time and experience. If you stick for long enough to live through that noise, to keep learning, I can guarantee you that you will be successful in crypto. But a lot of retail investors, actually, they come in the space, they see one of those downside movements that we're seeing right now, they would sell in panic, they would get scared, they would say it's a scam, and they would run away and probably never come back. Or even worse, when Bitcoin now hits new all-time high, they will come back, buying at higher prices, then again price would go down, and then again they would sell in loss. So this is a repeated cycle, which is something very common for beginners. And if you manage to stick through that, learn, I can guarantee you would succeed. Even myself, I've been through that. I started, I lost, I went through the same cycle, but I stayed long enough. I didn't give up. I kept learning. I kept spending time in front of the charts, in the markets, trying to understand what is happening, why price is moving like that, what is triggering certain movements, and I made it through. And you can do the same. Just stick around, keep learning and observing. And by the way, on Discord, one of my members this morning said they can't handle this. If you're this type, you can even distract yourself for the time being and come back later. Just don't be emotional, don't make the mistake of selling in panic or chasing hype. If you're not feeling well right now in the markets, on those discounts, on those dips, you don't have the money to buy anymore, just close the app, do something else. If you don't want to learn, develop yourself in a different way, in different aspect, and come back in some time and you would see the prices higher. So just to tell you then what to expect, my opinion on this post, if Bitcoin pushes above the 110k, there is potential for a strong upwards continued momentum as billions in shorts get liquidated. That's one. But if the price drops a little bit lower, just below, let's say 107, 106k, if the markets want to liquidate those small remaining positions, but there is less leverage compared to the upside, and then we would continue the upwards momentum, but we might see further drop to the 106k level in the short term. But that is just setting us up for something bigger, for a bigger move. In simple terms, Bitcoin right now has more explosive upside potential, which is the short squeeze risk, than downside danger at this current price level. And if we can see on CoinMarketCap, Bitcoin is currently at 109k at the moment. 103k level, I don't think we're going to see that in the short term. Again, everything is possible in crypto and you should always be prepared for surprises. But I personally think that from here we would start climbing up. But I personally expect a bigger crash by the end of this year, together with an all-time high, which could be either later this year or in Q1 of 2026. So that's from me today. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.